Right, the ex-wives, basically, you know, and so I think it's gonna be a totally different vibe than the Turks and Caicos. How can it not be?
How can it not be? And I mean, I really do think, I mean, listen, I wouldn't mess with Dorinda. That's just me. You're like,
I hear you.
we do it a little different in New York, don't we? What are your plans after, you know, after these amazing LA dates, which everyone is going to flock to? What's
You know
next for
what,
the
Darling?
summer?
I plan to enjoy some time in the Hamptons and maybe go to Europe.
That's nice. Might we be having a European tour soon?
Working on it. I'm working on London, Ireland, Scotland, and Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you hear from a lot of people in those? Like,
I hear from a lot of people. If you go on my Instagram and look at comments, people are like, when are you coming with your cabaret to London? When are you coming to Ireland? So my agent has taken all that into consideration, and we've actually been reached out to some agents out across the pond. So we're working on that leg of the tour, which is the European tour. I mean, bien sûr, as they say in French, you know, of course.
You can go live in Europe for a while.
Oh, that would be awesome. I'd love to play, you know, the West End of London would be amazing.
Does Housewives fandom ever shock you? You know, like we talk about Ramona and this invitation. I mean, it is, you had to blow it up. Like, does it ever shock you at how deep, like, the fandom runs, the people come to your show?
I think that's what makes the Housewives so popular and so pop culturally important, is that, you know, we all have drama, we all have lives, right? And we're not perfect, so we all make mistakes. You know, the beauty of Housewives is you get to see them playing out through our lives. So, and I think that's why it's popular. I mean, you know, everybody is the same when you come to at the end of the day, everybody's the same.
I agree. Well, listen, I think an international tour is going to be next. You've already gone international with Canada. I mean, of course, there are a lot of Housewives fans in Australia. If you do end up in Australia, might you look up Miss Alex McCord and just check in? And
oh, well, I would definitely invite them to the show for sure. I mean, how much would fans in Australia love that?
I would love that, Luann.
Yeah,
I would love that. Will you? I mean, how are things like, I think that would be great. You know, there is this thing out there that Bethenny put out there that she would come back to the OG show if Alex said yes. Do you think there's any chance of this happening?
I don't think Bethenny's coming back. I think she's made that pretty clear that we can't pay her enough, but you know, shouldn't forget about the hand that fed you in the first place.
And it's like, look, there's some, to me, like a dichotomy of like, you don't want to talk about it, but we are talking about it, which
and she talks about it all the time on her podcast, apparently. I mean, I don't listen to Bethenny's podcast, but people have told me that she talks about the Housewives all the time. Well, if you want to distance yourself from the Housewives and not be on the Housewives, then find something else to talk about.
Right. And you're at the MTV Awards. I know you're getting an award, but you're posting pictures with every housewife that's ever existed.
That's right. That's right.
It's a little strange.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man.
Well, I know. Well, listen, you know, I think the most important thing about being a housewife is that, you know, I have a big life, you know, I have a career. I have a career in cabaret. I have, you know, a family. You know, I'm working right now on a non-alcoholic sparkling rosé. So I'm super excited about that. You know, I've got a lot of things going on, you know, taking care of myself has been, you know, has been keeping me very busy in terms of just, you know, getting through the pandemic and, you know, keeping my, you know, myself centered and working on my cabaret and, you know, working on this new sparkling, which I'm super excited for that to come out. It'll be coming out in the fall after the season airs, and you'll get to see me working on that during the course of the season. And so, you know, with the new Christmas song, that project going, and, you know, taking care of myself and my family, you know, I've been busy, and thank God, you know, and filming. So, you know, it's been a lot going on. And I think most importantly, to answer that is like, I think it's important that you have your own, you know, life. The Housewives follows my life because, you know, we're women that are out there working, and I think, you know, when the show becomes your life, that's the kiss of death.
Totally. And what about, you know, speaking of a non-alcoholic rosé, which I'm so excited for, Are we finally going to see the women leave you alone with your drinking this season?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the girls are very supportive of me and my sobriety. So, and listen, I'm not perfect. I talk about that the first episode, that it's a struggle, especially during a pandemic when everybody's just like drinking away. So, I've had my moments, I have my slips, but I feel like every time that happens, part of recovery is relapse. And so every time I get to another place where I just know, like, this is, a slippery slope. And it's, I can't drink the way I used to drink, and it's accepting that and like, acknowledging that and treating it, in that way. And it's helped me to stay on the right path.
That's good. I mean, yeah, I was just watching the Demi Lovato documentary, and she said, I mean, she just made headlines like she's California sober. She said like she drinks and smokes marijuana, but doesn't do hard drugs.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's a recipe for disaster, but that's what I thought.
you do. What have been your highs and lows for the whole, looking back at your career in Housewives? Like, what sticks out as one of your highs? I mean, listen, you've made eggs a la Francaise, you've fallen in bushes, you've told people to be cool.
Yeah. And I've also said Louis Vuitton even makes mistakes, So I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
What sticks out to you as like your high from all the seasons, or like one of your low points? Like when you look back at your.
Listen, I've had a lot of low points, I've had a lot of high points, the day we got Aston is one of my high points. And now I lost my little baby just last week. So, I think that's what makes the show so successful, is we're relatable. We go through our stuff. I've been married and divorced on the show twice. And,
Yes.
And I'm a hopeless romantic, 3 times the charm. I never give up on not finding the right person, but the right person coming into my life at the right time, because I think life is all about timing. And anyway, where was I going with that? Sorry.
As far as like you've had highs and you've had lows.
Right. And so, sorry about, the journey, and, and I think that's what makes the show relatable, is that, like this season, we can't go to the same places that we used to. We can't go to Mexico like we used to, and so we had to adjust like the whole world. And, and so, we've been, through all of it and together. And this season is great because, we had to spend more time in our homes because we couldn't go out as much. And I think, it gets more personal because, when you're in your personal space, I think that changes the dynamic. And so I think you'll see us, connecting in a different way this season because of that, and being restricted in terms of what we can do and how we can travel. And so, it's a different season, it's a different time. And I think it's, highly relatable, as we were all going through the same thing.
Yeah, sure. And I think to me, one thing that sticks out about RHONY is, you are all, to your point, you're single, like, you made headlines for Hamptons trainer.
Yes. Well, listen, it was a pandemic, it started with a sizzle and then it kind of fizzled, but that's okay. I'm busy working on myself and working on, my shows and my, on the sparkling rosé, and we're friends. And so it's cool. It's not like all uncool.
Well, and I know you said, it comes at the right time. Would you ever consider being the Bachelorette?
Well, listen, God knows we need a Bachelorette for divorced women. Putting it out there, already talked about this. I would love to see a show like that, where we see love the second time around, and, talk about a pandemic. I mean, that's also a pandemic, is,